When all else fails. When all else fails. What do? I'm going to tell you. Good morning, guys and girls. May 10. Our scripture and devotions are going to be from our Catch a Better Life book. This is a book that took me a couple of years to write. Very, very difficult to write, a 365-day daily devotional. We wrote one back in 2005. We have a YouTube channel that is called Catch of the Day. If you are not on that YouTube channel, subscribe right now. Definitely subscribe to that YouTube channel. Got about 20,000 people on there, over 20,000 people. It is the most helpful, best channel on YouTube. It will absolutely change your life. Just give us a couple of weeks on there. Check in each day. We post these videos at 5 o'clock every morning Central Time. You can check on them any time of the day or night. If you're a new subscriber, go back and read a few. Just come down there and look, get something that kind of catches your fancy. And listen to those videos. They're all like 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes is all they are. We're looking at John 14:1 today, the book of John 14:1. These are red letters I'm about to read. These are words spoken by the King, Jesus himself. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe in me also. Those of you that watch Fox News, if you ever watch Sean Hannity on there, he ends his show, I think, about every week or starts it or something. I think he ends it by saying, let not your heart be troubled. Now, he doesn't go ahead and complete that verse in there. I don't really know why. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Here's what I wrote about that verse. With many bass spawned right now, and yet some still heavily involved in the spawning process, late spring or early summer, however way you want to look at it, we've got 90 degrees now in Oklahoma, quite a few of them. That's a perfect time to fish a popping type topwater bait. A popper, a little magic or yellow magic or whatever it's called. All kinds of different popping topwater type baits. One of the keys to catching fish on this bait is to be sure to let that bait set for a few seconds before you move it. So we got a relatively calm day today. Pretty nice out here. If you throw that bait out there, a good rule of thumb is let it set until all the ripples die down. The calmer the water, the longer you're going to have to let it sit. So that's a good rule of thumb to let you know. Throw it out there. Don't move it. Don't move it. Don't move it. Don't pop it. Don't move it until all the ripples die down. The longer it sits, the more worried the bass gets. That bait hits and it sits there and the ripples are going away. The ripples are going away and the bass eases up to it and he eases up and he looks at it and he looks at it. It just appeared out of heaven. He looks at it. When it moves, wham! When it moves, blue show. That's what happens. I used to have a buddy, every time you get a topwater boat, he'd go, blue show. I don't think that's the name. Maybe that might have been George W. that come up with that. I don't know. George W. is good about making up names. In today's verse, Jesus was talking about worry, and he was talking about eternity. Here's the deal. He was about to be crucified. Jesus knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew he'd be arrested. He talked about it. He knew he would be beaten and mocked and spit on. Because he talked about it beforehand. He knew he would be killed. He knew he would be crucified. He knew that. What if you were about to go into Jerusalem and you knew that was about to happen to you? What would you do? I don't know about you, but can I tell you, if it was me, I'd cut and run. I'd cut and run. They wouldn't be seeing me in Jerusalem. They know see Jimmy. That's right. Just like around here, you know, Apache, I told him about the gold that's supposed to be buried on this ranch from a robbery. And I told him what Pablo said when Pablo was working here. Pablo find gold, you know find Pablo. That's how it would be. If I knew that was getting ready to happen to me, like Jesus knew what was going to happen to him, you'd know find Jimmy. You'd know find Jimmy. And yet, he loved us so much, he went ahead and went to Jerusalem anyway. He was about to be crucified, yet he was giving emotional and spiritual support to his disciples. Even though he knew what was getting ready to happen, he was still giving emotional support, spiritual support to his disciples. Can I tell you, this is the same support that's available to us today through Jesus. Jesus went on to tell them he was going to heaven. He's going to heaven to prepare a place for them and also prepare a place for you and me also. Let me ask you, do you have anxiety problems? Do you worry about anything? This verse, believe in Jesus. Believe in Jesus. He can handle it, and he will handle it. He can handle it, and he will handle it. Let not your hearts be troubled, Sean Hannity. You believe in God, believe also in me. Gosh, that's a great verse. Gosh, that's a great verse. I don't see it, but it sounded like a helicopter. Here's our tip for today: when all else fails. When all else fails. A lot of things y'all could think of during this. That's one of the things you got to figure out in fishing if you're going to catch fish, when all else fails, because that happens quite frequently. Hit the tail end of every little tiny pocket you can find. Use spinnerbaits, small spinnerbaits like a red man spinnerbait, and small square bills like a little Lucky Strike square bills, small ones, because the tail ends you're going to run out of water. If you get to the tail end, you're going to totally just end up with dry ground or just a little stream or water trickling down there. When all else fails, you can, and here's another thing you can do, and this is not today's tip, throw it in, go from point to point to point to point. If you want to kind of double up on that and figure out which one works the best, go hit a point and then run to the tail end, or both points maybe, run to the tail end of the pocket, fish it. Just fish the last little bit of it, that's all. Go out to the next point. Hit the point, run to the tail end of the pocket. You got 2 points out there, of course, you know that, but you hit the points, run to the tail end of the pockets. Had a buddy of mine who was a great fisherman. His name was Billy Phillips, and he made a little spinnerbait. It was really kind of a little bit like our red man spinnerbait. I never thought it was nearly as good. Billy thought his was better, but he fished tournaments, and he would almost do the exact same things everywhere we went. No matter the time of the year or the conditions, he would simply run to the tail end of every little pocket and throw his spinnerbait or buzzbait, and that's what he would do. I would say spinnerbait and a buzzbait's a good choice. Spinnerbait, buzzbait, and a square bill. I'd make sure I was throwing that square bill up there too. It'll bounce on the brush and stuff on that tail end and not get hung up. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. And remember, I sure do love you.